What's up, y'all? My name is Devin, the DIY lawn coach. Hope you're doing good. Hope everything's going well for you. Thank you so much for checking out the Lawns and Life podcast. We are on to episode 2. We're going to talk about height of cut going into winter. Should you lower it or should you not? I'm going to argue both sides and let you decide which one's best for you. We're going to talk about snow on the lawn, what it means, should you get rid of it? And then this week is Thanksgiving, this Thursday, so I hope you and your family have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I'm going to talk a little bit about what Thanksgiving means to me and my family. And then, as you guys know, I am a chef. I went to culinary school, and so I'm going to give you some chef's secrets on how to have the perfect Thanksgiving turkey. So with all that, let's get into the podcast. All right, y'all. So here we go. Let's talk about lowering your height of cut going into winter. So should you do it? Do I recommend it? Do I do it in my own personal lawn? So let's talk about why you should do it. When it comes to lowering your height of cut, let's say you've got a cool season lawn, turf type tall fescue, perennial ryegrass, Kentucky bluegrass. You've got a lawn you've been mowing. Say you've got turf type tall fescue and you've been mowing 4.5 inches all year long. Should you lower your height of cut going into winter? And here's why you should do it. Number one, lowering your height of cut will reduce the chances of you getting snow mold. Now we'll talk a little bit later in the video about snow mold, what it is, how to get rid of it. But it will. Having that lower height of cut will increase airflow and all those good things, and it'll help reduce your snow mold. It also reduces the chance of your grass laying over. I think that kind of goes without saying. Tall turf, when you get all that snowpack and, the grass will lay over, increases the risk of damage to the turf. So if you say you are, have those inflatables out in your lawn, or you're going to get a lot of foot traffic in the lawn, then yeah, you probably want to lower your height of cut. It's going to increase your chance of success, with not losing as much turf going into springtime. And it looks a little bit neater. I mean, if that's something that bothers you or something that you need, having a lower height of cut will help everything just look nice and neat and tidy, as opposed to being bushy and all that stuff. It will also allow sunlight to reach the soil. So why is sunlight important? Well, coming into, as we transition from summer or from winter into spring, that sunlight shining down on the soil will actually cause your lawn to green up a little bit better, which that could be a good or bad thing. We'll talk about that here as to why I don't do it. And I'll tell you why I think that, having a shorter turf would be a bad thing in that particular situation. But so should you lower your height of cut? Well, here's what I would tell you if you are a candidate for doing it. If you get a lot of snow cover, or your lawn stays, with snow on it for an extended period of time, yeah, you probably want to reduce your height of cut. If you put inflatables and decorations, things out on the lawn, or you're going to get a lot of foot traffic, absolutely, you should probably lower your height of cut. So here's why I don't do it. I don't typically recommend it in my area, just because of some certain factors. Number one, we don't get a lot of snow in this area. Yes, we do get a couple inches here and there, maybe 3, 4, 5 times in the year, maybe. Sometimes we don't get any, but sometimes we do get some. And so having that longer grass blade has a couple more benefits for me personally. It helps with the photosynthesis of the plant. The longer the leaf blade, the more sunlight can shine down on that grass, and that grass plant can still absorb the sun. So that'll help. Not to mention, because we don't get a lot of snow cover, and it does get very cold here. Nights can get down in the upper teens, low 20s at night, and highs can be in the mid to low 30s sometimes without a cold spell. Obviously, everybody kind of deals with those, but so having that longer grass blade will help protect the grass, help protect the soil from those cold nights. Something else that I want to mention is something called desiccation, and we'll talk about that a little bit too when it comes to snow mold. But desiccation is just basically the drying out of the leaf blade. So if you see your turf kind of shrivel up or turn this yellowish color, that's just stress, and that's coming from desiccation. The plant is drying out. So having those longer leaf blades helps the plant retain moisture. I know it's wintertime, but the plant still needs water. Now, you don't need to get out your sprinkler and water in the middle of winter. You'll probably get called to the crazy house if you do something like that. But the plant does need to stay moist. The ground needs some sort of moisture. So hopefully you're still getting rain. Snow is a great way to help the plant retain moisture. And then I mentioned talking about sunlight hitting the soil surface. Now, I'm not a big fan of that, just because, to me, in my opinion, that is just going to help invite weeds. I don't want the sunlight to reach the soil for me in my own personal situation, because that's just going to help weeds germinate. So just kind of all those factors kind of play into each other as to why I don't do it. So just to recap why I don't do it. Number one, we don't get a lot of snow cover. I don't put inflatables out into my yard. I don't get a lot of foot traffic. I'm not getting the snow cover to help protect the soil, and I don't really want the sun shining down on it. So for me and for my situation, it just makes sense. Maybe it doesn't make it for you, and maybe you do need to mow a little bit shorter. Really, it all comes down to personal preference. I just want to give you guys some tips and things to think about as to why you should do it. Leave me a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Do you mow your grass, slightly shorter going into winter, or do you leave it long? Let me know what you guys do. Why do you do it? Why do you choose to do that? What are the benefits for you? And give me your thoughts. I'm sure some other people would love to hear from you. All right, so I mentioned snow on the lawn. Now here, I live in Western North Carolina, and we don't normally get a lot of snow. We'll probably get 3 or 4 or 5 days maybe of events of snow. So just not, snow for one. I mean, it could snow here in the morning, and then by the afternoon it could be 70 degrees. What they say about North Carolina is if you don't like the weather, just wait till tomorrow. So it's kind of a little joke in the area, but we typically get maybe 3 or 4 snows a year, and they can range from a few inches to a dusting. We're not like you guys up north where you guys will get snow cover all year long and you're piling snow up and can't figure out what to do with it. We don't have that issue here, but I do want to talk about snow on the lawn because it's something that people kind of get stirred up about or worry about. So let's talk about it. I guess the first thing that I want to say is don't try to remove any snow from your lawn. Removing it, you could potentially do more damage trying to remove it than just leaving it on there. And it's actually, snowfall on the lawn is not a bad thing. Too much of any, I guess the saying goes, too much of a good thing is also a bad thing. Well, too much snow is also a bad thing. You still have to have those exchanges of oxygen and air and all that stuff going on, and the lawn still needs that. And so that's really, we'll talk about snow mold here in just a second, but that's really what leads to snow mold, is that you're not getting that air and water exchange in the plant. And so while having snow cover on the lawn is a good thing, it's like a blanket. It's an insulator. You think about having snow on your roof, that helps hold in the heat into your house, like an igloo, basically. Well, your lawn is no different. So when it gets really cold at night and you've got snow cover and that wind is whipping around and it's 0 degrees outside, well, that is just a blanket covering your plant. And so it's actually a good thing. Now, like I said, too much of a good thing can also be a bad thing. And if you get a tremendous amount of snow on your lawn, certainly don't try to remove it, but if you can, try to manage where you put your piles. And if your piles do get too large, try to move them where they'll melt. Maybe, I know my particular situation in the front of my house, I'm along my front sidewalk, I don't get a lot of sunlight. And so when it snows, even just a dusting, that snow could stay there 3 or 4 days because the sunlight never hits it. Now, again, I told you, don't try to remove it. There's nothing much I can do about it. But if you could, or you were in a particular situation, I wouldn't want to be piling the snow in that area, right? I would try to want to blow it or move it away from that area, as to, not leave it on there for an extended period of time. So if you get heavy amounts of snow, just try to manage it and put it in places where it will melt. Try not to have big piles of snow. Let's talk about kind of snow mold, because that kind of is something that people worry about. Again, we don't have to deal with that here, but snow mold, or gray snow mold, just comes from the plant not being able to breathe. And it usually will manifest itself going into spring. And that's kind of when you'll see it, when the snow cover is gone. So if it's something that maybe you've dealt with in the past, or something that you're really worried about, look at maybe mixing propiconazole or azoxystrobin together and try to get that on the lawn right before you're going to get that extended period of snow. Now, if the ground is ever frozen, or you've already got snow on the ground, do not be applying anything to the lawn. That's just, don't be doing that. But if like you've done your last mow of the year, and maybe you see in the forecast they're calling for snow, that would be the appropriate time to throw down your fungicide to help mitigate some of that snow mold, if that's something that you're really worried about. But ideally, if you do get snow mold, it typically doesn't cause a long-term damage. In the springtime, if you see that snow mold, get out there, especially, kind of good exercise. We've been stuck inside. Get yourself a hand rake and just lightly rake those areas. Again, we talk about air and water, and you got to get the grass kind of fluffed up and get oxygen and sunlight and things kind of down into those soil. Again, we talked about having the lower cut turf. That will all help aid that. And that's really where that snow mold comes from. Whether you got snow on your lawn, or not, try to stay off the lawn as best as possible. Obviously, I know kids, life still happens. I would never tell you not to let your kids go and play and do all those things. At the end of the day, we're talking about grass here. It's all going to be just fine. but you do risk, especially if the lawn is still frozen, when you step on that grass, could potentially break the crowns of the plant and cause long-term damage. So just try to limit it and be smart about it. But at the end of the day, it is your lawn. You just do whatever you want. Yeah. So, just when it comes to snow mold, just try to, keep the airflow, rake it in the springtime, give the lawn a cut once it thaws out, and, it'll be okay. So let's kind of go back, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, talking about winds and desiccation. Again, desiccation is just the drying out from the harsh environment, right? So the plant, you think about what your skin does when it's really cold. Think about your nasal passages, how they feel on a really cold day. Well, that plant being out there with the wind whipping around is a bad thing. So, you'll see especially my turf, I'll see it kind of needle up. It'll turn kind of a yellowish color. Winter is a stressful period. Just like summer is stressful on our grass, winter is just as stressful on our cool season lawn, because it's cold, it's not getting rainfall, and sunlight is minimal, and snow and all that stuff. So it doesn't like it, and that's when it'll go into a dormant state. Means it just quits growing. While it's not growing on top, there is some activity going on under. All biological activity has all but stopped, depending on where you live. So winds and desiccation, just try to, make sure, you don't let the plant dry out as best as possible. Again, we talked about certainly don't remove the snow, but try not to worry too much about snow and just view it as a good thing. right, y'all. So Thanksgiving is this Thursday, and Thanksgiving is by far my most favorite holiday of them all. Yes, I love Christmas. I love the birth of Jesus Christ. I love Easter. I love celebrating, Jesus going on the cross and dying for our sins. I love that. But man, you put me around food and football, and that's by far my favorite holiday. So hope you and your family have a wonderful Thanksgiving and are able to spend some time with friends and family. I just want to talk for a second about Thanksgiving and kind of what it means to me for just a second. So you think about the 3 F's of Thanksgiving, right? Food, family, and football. And when you combine those 3 things together, man, it just makes the perfect holiday. So food, you guys know I'm a chef. I'll give a secret to having a perfect Thanksgiving here in just turkey in just a minute. Food, love to eat. Who doesn't love to eat? Football, I love watching football. And then family, spending times with friends and family. And, the one thing that I love so much about Thanksgiving and why it's so important to me is, we're one of the few countries that still pauses for a day to give thanks. We have now the United States, we are not a perfect country. We are far from it. But as I mentioned, we're one of the few countries that takes a day to recognize and give thanks. And I just think that's really important. I think so many times in our lives, we're all about consumption and look at me and look at me and look at me. and to pause for a moment and just realize what you have, or what opportunities you've been given. That just, to me, that's important. I think reflecting on, everything that God does for me in my life, and having, parents, and having kids, and a house, and being able to live in the greatest country in the world, and have food, and be able to get in my car and drive wherever I want to go. And I think just taking a second and realizing that we are so blessed, and we all have so much to be thankful for. And I just love it. I love that concept. I love giving thanks. I think that it's just important. I think a lot of our problems in the world would be solved if everybody would just kind of look at what they have and stop worrying about what they don't. And yeah.
If I could be if I could if I could feel
All right, y'all. So I want to give you some secrets to how you can have an awesome Thanksgiving turkey. So as you guys know, I am a chef. I graduated from Johnson & Wales University in Charleston, South Carolina back in 2004. So how many years ago was that? 2014 to 12 years ago. Is that right? Oh, 20. Holy moly. Wow. Time flies when you're having fun. But yeah, so I graduated culinary school. I worked in hotels, caterers, worked on a cruise ship. And, I just want to share a little bit of some chef secrets with you and tell you about how to have a perfect Thanksgiving turkey. You can share this either with your wife, or share this with your husband if he's doing the turkey, or if you're doing the turkey, you can keep it to yourself. So the key to a perfect Thanksgiving turkey starts with brining your turkey. So if you've never brined your turkey before, what brining is using a solution of water, salt, and sugar. And if you want to get funky with it and throw some seasonings and things in there, cinnamon, clove, go for it. But at the base of it, you want to brine your turkey. So how do you do that? You get your turkey frozen from the store, let it thaw out, may take a couple days. And then I want you to go to the hardware store, and I want you to get a 5-gallon bucket. Okay, and I'm going to leave a recipe for the brine that I want you to use down in the description below, so you can go check that out. So take your 5-gallon bucket, put your thawed turkey in your bucket, pull out the gizzards, and that little thing that they give you for the turkey that tells you when it's done, that little plastic thing that pops up, pull that thing out of there, throw that away. Don't use that, okay? Pull the gizzards out of your turkey, and then make your brine solution. Again, recipe is going to be down below. And I want you to pour that brine over your turkey, and I want you to brine your turkey for a minimum of 3 days. So say you do that on Monday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Wednesday morning, I want you to pour your brine away. You can pull your turkey out and put it on a dish or a tray or whatever. And then dump out your brine, throw it away. You don't need that anymore. And then put your turkey back in your bucket. And I want you to leave it in there for another day. All right. Let it dry out. Don't cover it. Just let it dry out in the refrigerator. The refrigerator, pull the moisture out of the air. It'll dry your turkey. But we want to always make sure that we are cooking a dry turkey. Okay. So that's secret number one, is brining your turkey. You got to do it. Okay. Now that doesn't matter whether you're smoking your turkey, or if you're frying your turkey, or if you're grilling your turkey, or you're baking it. Doesn't matter. You have to brine your turkey. If you've never done it before, this will make sure that you have the most moist, beautiful brown. It'll cook more even. The meat will be just so tender and it's so good. All right, so brining your turkey, secret number one. Secret number two to having a perfect Thanksgiving turkey is I want you to pull your turkey out of the refrigerator and let it kind of come to room temperature for a couple of hours before you put it in the oven. All right, so hear me out for a second. Anytime you're cooking any meat, steaks, chicken, whatever, all right, turkey on Thanksgiving, always try to cook meats that have had an opportunity to kind of come up to room temperature first. What that does, think about it. I mean, you're putting a cold turkey, your refrigerator's 41 degrees. You're putting a cold turkey in a really hot oven. So what does that do? That drops the temperature of your oven. Plus, you end up having to, maybe the outside of your turkey is getting done before the middle does. So you're just increasing, even though we've brined it, right? We've done the first secret. Even though you're brining it, you still want to make sure that turkey gets done in the middle before the outside gets too brown. And so you do that by making sure that your turkey has come to room temperature. So if you're grilling steaks out on the grill this summer, or you're doing, cooking hamburgers, always let them sit out for a little bit and kind of come to room temperature before you grill them or before you cook them. And I promise you'll have better results. All right. So the last step that I'm going to give you, and this, when your Thanksgiving turkey comes out, okay, and you got to plan for this because this is really important. I want you to let your turkey rest for a minimum of 1 hour after it comes out of the oven. Now, I know it's hard and that turkey smells good and you got stuffing and cornbread and, you got green bean casserole and all that stuff. And it's, the house is smelling great. You got family and everybody's ready to go, right? But you can't do it. I promise. Let it sit, let it rest, pull it out of the oven, set it on your counter, lay a towel over it, take a piece of aluminum foil, something, and just kind of tent it over it and don't touch it for 1 hour. All right. So you brine your turkey. You let it sit out at room temperature for a couple hours before it went into the oven to make sure that, that it was room temperature when it went in the oven. And then when it comes out, I want you to let it rest for 1 hour. So the reason why we want to do that is because that meat is bound up. The protein structure of the meat is all bound up and we want to let it relax. Okay. Have you ever cut a steak on a cutting board when it's hot? You'll see all the juices just run and run and run. Well, all those juices are the moisture that would cause your turkey to not be moist on the inside. We've worked so hard. We brined it. We've done all these steps. We want to make sure we give it an opportunity to rest because we want all those juices to stay inside the turkey. So you do those three things and I promise you'll have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I'm sure you'll have a wonderful Thanksgiving regardless. But if you give these three steps, I promise they'll work for you. Thank you so much for coming and checking out the podcast. This is awesome. I am so thankful to you guys. It has been an awesome year. Thank you so much for checking out the video. I hope you and your family have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And, hey, I hope you're able to spend some time with friends and family and eat a bunch of turkey and kick your feet up and relax and just know that we are in the best country in the world and just take a second and give thanks. I'm so thankful to you guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving. My name is Devin. I am the DIY Lawn Coach. I can't wait to see you in the lawn. Peace.